Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a while since we had an Instagram Live. We have a very special guest today. So, there are thousands of chemicals in our environment that we're exposed to daily. Repeated exposure to many of these chemicals can lead to adverse health effects that can impact women and men differently. Today, we're going to discuss the impact of environmental chemicals on men's health. Many environmental chemicals can impact hormones, which in turn, male fertility rates have decreased dramatically, actually by over 50% over the last 50 years. And also, exposure to harmful chemicals has been linked to ADHD, mood disorders, and developmental and reproductive issues in growing boys. And that's why we're so glad to chat today on IG Live with Dr. Katherine Carvlin, a naturopathic physician and holistic nutritionist focused on helping men and women realizing their health and making sustainable lifestyle changes. So during this live, we're going to discuss the correlation between toxic chemicals and male infertility and health problems, the importance of environmental medicine in wellness, and how to reduce your exposure to harmful chemicals. I saw Dr. Hello, hi, Dr. Carlin.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Yep, my pleasure.
Before we start, tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a naturopathic physician.
Yeah, so I've always been really passionate about science and psychology and health. And it actually kind of goes back to college when I was volunteering on this organic farm in Ecuador. And I really found like the connection, the understanding between how our health and the world's health are like so intimately connected. So after that, I did a master's in nutrition where I focused on like researching ways that people can reduce their toxin exposures to their food and their water. And then I found out about naturopathic medicine and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. So I applied to Bastyr and, I've been helping patients address their health issues ever since. And so I see patients, and then I'm also the current president of the National Association of Environmental Medicine, which is a nonprofit group and we train practitioners like how to assess patients and treat them for environmental illness. So I'm really passionate about this and just love spreading the word about environmental medicine.
That's so amazing because I think even for like a naturopathic physicians, not many actually have your background of okay, you actually understand the food, and then also I think it's really important also to understand like where our food is coming from. So you saw like the whole process of growing food, and then you have training in nutrition, and now on top of it, environmental medicine and functional medicine. That's huge. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of been a journey of like evolution of like learning. And I was like, the nutrition is the foundations. And then I was like, oh, I want more, And yeah, so I love bringing it all together to help my patients.
That's so cool. And which is also reflected in your bio, because your bio on your website states that the most overlooked factor in chronic disease is everyday environmental exposures. So why do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, there are over 125,000 synthetic chemicals like in commerce in our world right now. And about 8,000 of those are considered high volume where we are exposed to them every day. And research into these toxins just continues to show that connection between exposure and chronic health issues. And we're seeing it. We're seeing more people are ill with chronic disease. Younger people are starting to have more health issues. And so I'm just really passionate about educating people on how to reduce their exposures because we can do it. We do have the power to choose. There are healthier options, and like, getting your everyday exposures clean up really helps your lifelong health plan.
Mhm. So many people don't really understand what environmental medicine is, and you practice environmental medicine. So what is that exactly?
Yeah, it's really like how humans and the environment like impact each other, right? Like environmental medicine is somewhat of a new branch of medicine, and it explores how the environment interacts with the human body. So we've got this like systems based approach to how toxins and microbes may be impacting the human body. And so I like to look at patients cumulative toxic load, like as if they were a bucket. Like how full is their bucket with anything from stressors to like chronic health diseases, like genetics, plus toxin exposure, and how does that all impact their health on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, and this environmental medicine, your overall like this bucket is actually impacting male fertility rate, like sperm rates has been declining. So like this men's fertility rate, have declined over 50% in the last 50 years. So besides toxic chemicals, which we'll get into, like what are some common reasons for low sperm rates?
Yeah. I mean, a man's age, is certainly a factor, whether they smoke, their activity level, obesity can be a factor, alcohol intake, and then hormone imbalances. And so all those things can contribute to sperm quantity and quality.
Mhm. And in your practice and research, what are some most common chemicals associated with low sperm rates in men? And then, where can we find these chemicals?
Yeah, so there's a big class of chemicals called endocrine disruptors, and things like phthalates, pesticides, flame retardants, the PFAS category, bisphenols, and these chemicals are found in everyday items. So plastics, pesticides, furniture, cleaning products, personal care products, our water supply, even cookware can all be impacted. Or you could get exposed to these chemicals from those daily exposures.
So how do these chemicals then cause, low sperm rates?
Yeah, so these chemicals interfere with our hormones and the proper metabolism and function of our hormones, the levels of the hormones in the body, and so that can in turn lead to reduced sperm count. It can negatively impact the morphology or the shape of the sperm. It can reduce their motility, and then it increases like DNA damage to the sperm, and all of that can cause low sperm rates.
Yeah, because these chemical you mentioned is like a hormone disrupting chemicals. If they're disrupting hormone, infertility is probably like not the only problem like men could experience. So what are some other signs, if they're exposed to these chemicals?
Yeah, so things like fatigue, erectile dysfunction, certain cancers can also be a factor. And really just like how a man is feeling, their overall general sense of wellness can also be impacted.
So what are some, you mentioned the cancer, what are some cancers associated with toxic chemical exposures and then like why does this
Yeah.
happen?
I mean, the two main ones are prostate and testicular cancer. Genetics contributes to about like 0.5% of the diagnoses of prostate cancer. And so the remaining 40 or 50% is attributed to environmental exposures, like things like air pollution, pesticides, heavy metals. And we're just seeing that like a DNA damage being a big component. And then like with testicular cancer, like, yeah, there's genetic components that are at play, but research has also found that like even prenatal exposure to when the like child was in utero within their mom to certain chemicals can increase the risk of testicular cancer like even in adulthood for that person.
So this makes like prevention so important and reducing your exposure is really, really important.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about like preconception care because it's like such a huge responsibility for both
Yeah.
parties at play, all parties that are at play here to reduce toxin exposure before trying to conceive. Like, not only is it an infertility issue, but even if there is no infertility issue, just cleaning the body so that your DNA and your eggs and sperm are the healthiest for that child to succeed down the road in their lifetime.
We also say like, this is like actually the biggest, you get the biggest bang for your bucks because, not only you like optimize your egg quality, sperm quality, creating a really good environment for your unborn kid, but by the kid is born, you already, have this whole sustainable, healthy lifestyle like set up for the kid. And this kid doesn't grow that way, right? Like instead of like, okay, start intervening once the kid is out. So it's like, it just like so amazing if you can start early.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Plus, like especially for like girls, like their ovaries are developing in utero, and so you're having multi-generational impacts during pregnancy. So it is, it's kind of like heavy to think about it that way, but yeah, setting up your lifestyle is good for you. It's good for your baby as you all grow older together, and then also future generations.
Yes. So so now what are some small but effective tips for reducing exposure to these chemicals?
Yeah, so, ways that you can get rid of plastic, as much as possible, as ubiquitous as it is, it's possible, right? Like avoiding plastic coming in contact with food, not storing your food in plastic containers, choosing glass and metal when available, avoiding fragranced items. So any cleaning products, personal care products, home, even car fragrances, like work fragrances, choosing non swapping out your nonstick cookware for like cast iron or stainless steel, choosing organic food to lower the pesticide exposure, filter your water, um, drinking water especially, but ideally like a whole house filter for your because there is dermal absorption through your skin. Choosing personal care products without hormone disrupting chemicals. Not touching receipts
Mhm.
is a big one for the bisphenols, and a personal disposable cups, like
Mhm.
coffee cups are lined with plastics, and there's just like microplastics galore in a cup of coffee. So bringing your own thermoses with you. And then also, like, just in terms of cleaning, like
Mhm.
regularly cleaning your home, wet dusting at home to reduce, to kind of clean up all the toxins that float around in your dust from like your carpets and your furniture.
This is like a lot of tip, and sometimes it's, seeing the chemicals everywhere and then also understanding there's so much you have to do and going out of your way to do so much more can like be stressful for some people. So you had a like really great post with some incredible perspective on like making these changes. So what advice would you give to someone who is overwhelmed by this information and implementing, lifestyle changes?
Yeah, it is really easy to get overwhelmed. Like chemicals are everywhere, and I'm in it all the time, and like the more I learn, I'm just like, oh my gosh, but it's what can we do? What reductions can we have? And like, yes, there are chemicals in our food, our air, our water, but like, they're not like we do have the power to choose. And we do have the ability to detox, and like avoidance like drastically reduces our exposure, and our bodies do detox these chemicals out. And so like, yes, you're not going to get every chemical all of the time, but we can make significant reductions that have substantial health benefits. And so that's the thing that we need to focus on. Like it's a marathon. Like you don't need to like throw everything away and start over, but like start learning and educating yourself, and like replacing like, oh, my mascara ran out. Like what's a good healthy option? Like I need new like lotion. Let's, change that over. Like, oh, a holiday or a birthday is coming up. Like I want new pots and pans.
Mhm.
And just trying to invest in your health through these everyday exposures, slowly over time. And that's really the best thing that you can do, and just try to like break it down also. And like, oh, I'm like, I have asthma, so I'm going to work on like the cleaning supplies first. Or like, yeah, infertility. Like I need to focus on my personal care products and my foods, right? And so just kind of also picking what makes the most sense for you, and starting there, or what you're passionate about, or like, oh, I can do what you feel like you can do, right? And save the harder things, the more overwhelming things for tomorrow or the next day or next month. Yeah.
Absolutely. And oftentimes, when people feel overwhelmed, it's always good to have someone who's guiding them through this process. So how can someone work with you?
Yeah. So I see patients in Washington. That's where I live, Washington State, both in person and telemedicine. And I've got more info on my website, drkatherinecarvlin.com. I also have a free guide that you can download on there, with over 50 resources of ways to reduce your everyday exposures, like what brands to buy, like websites, resources, how to like, get savvy about these things moving forward. So I really try to like share what I know, because I'm just so passionate. I'm like, yes, here, this is it. This is like a good starting place. There's always more to learn, of course. And then, um, Yeah, I mean, I also just want to share my resources with people, and I have a course from Toxic to Thriving, which is an online kind of self-paced course to empower people to like reduce these exposures, like is exactly what we're talking about. And for people that don't live near an environmental medicine provider, or that want to get started on their own before they come in. Like, I love seeing people that are like, oh, I've done this already. And like, I feel so much better, but now I want to work on X, Y, and Z. So that's kind of why I made this course for people. And it's just designed for people who want to like optimize their health, learn about these environmental impacts, or for those with chronic illness, like really trying like, I don't have answers with my other providers. Like, what could I be missing? Maybe it's the environmental chemicals, which, often it is, in my opinion. And like, this is just a really good first step for people to get started on those things.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for putting that together. That's actually exactly my next question is to tell us about the fun toxic to thriving environmental health online course. So that's like perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share?
I mean, just really wanting to stress it that like reducing environmental toxin exposure in your daily life is important. It's so important for long-term health. It's imperative for like the success, I feel like, of our generations. Like, we are seeing this drastic infertility issue, and our people are like, our lifespan is starting to decline, and like, well, what is it? What's changed? It's our environment, right? It's not necessarily our genetics. Like, we haven't evolved this quickly, but it's our ability to like cope with the toxins that we're exposed to. And we can make choices to reduce our exposures to have better health for us, our children, and the future generations. And yeah, it's just, we can do it, I think, is a big takeaway.
So on the same page. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today with us. And if you have any other course or anything coming up, please share with us. We would love to promote because everyone, definitely need this information. And we always say prevention is really the key because you don't really want to get sick and you don't really know when your bucket is going to get full with these environmental toxins, and it's much much better to address with prevention than when you get sick, because then that really not only you get sick, it's also impacting everyone around you with your quality of life and their quality of life.
Yeah, we're all in this together to kind of elevate health for everyone. And finding an environmental healthcare practitioner in your area, that could work with you and see you get hands-on care is really important for people that, once if you do something like my course, they're like, okay, I've got the foundations, but I need more. Yeah, I see people in Washington. There's the NAEM, the National Association of Environmental Medicine. We have a directory for of physicians for people to look at to find practitioners in their area.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining. And so be sure to follow Dr. Carvlin at Dr. Katherine Carvlin. Book an appointment and then enroll in the course. And then just if you want to learn more about it, you can tap in our LinkedIn bio and the post promoting this live. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Talk to you soon then.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.